Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Theodore, and thank you so much for joining me today. So let's talk about Mars conjunct the North Node and how that's occurring on the same day of the Jupiter Cazimi. Now, I haven't really seen much from astrologers out there discuss conjunctions with the North Node. I'm sure some people, focus on that particular thing every now and then, but every time I cruise YouTube or just because on my feed there's of course astrology stuff all over the place, the transiting North Node I don't think gets talked about enough. A lot of people talk about it when it first changes signs, and then every now and then it's brought up again. And we sort of remind ourselves that there's a major destiny point playing out in the collective, in our own life, depending on what sign that the North Node is occupying. So the North Node, as we all know, is in Aries, and the South Node's in Libra. So in my opinion, the transiting North Node in your own life represents a point of focus, an undertone theme that is going to be front and center, or maybe not totally front and center, like in your everyday life, but that particular house, that theme of your life, that house topic, something is going to be going on there that's going to be either challenging you or just forcing you to make decisions and these decisions are usually pretty big. Where it can affect literally the course of your life in some way, shape, or form, or at least until the next 12-year cycle, or the next cycle, about 11 or so years, maybe more longer than that, until it returns back to that, until that it returns back to where it is now. Because after this transit, North Node Aries transit, it's going to take a long time before it comes back again. So the transiting North Nodes to me are very important because it does highlight something in our lives that we really have to, try to figure out. Like, what is this teaching me? What is this? What is this? What am I being asked from this node? Because the North Node is about, moving destiny forward, where the South Node in Libra, something going on in your Libra chart, I think is being asked to be released furthermore. Or there could be something going on in your Libra, South Node story that is sort of affecting your progress forward. Because Aries is about identity, it's about movement, it's about taking action and, being more individualistic and self-assertive, like taking charge of your life or something in your life, taking control of something in your life. So when Mars conjuncts this, I think this is going to be a sharp moment regarding your North Node story, whatever that may be. Now, Aries has been so active, as I've mentioned many times, with the eclipses, with Mercury's retrograde, with Chiron, which is also, somehow linked to the North Node transit, because Chiron has been there a while. So anything going on in Aries in that part of your life, there is some transmuting and some healing and some letting go and surrendering that has been a part of that part of your life. I mean, I can almost guarantee it somewhere. And Mars is not aspecting anything right now. It's sort of it is making a sextile by sign to Taurus. Or no, I'm sorry. It won't actually be making any sort of aspects until Gemini starts to get active. And then Mars by that point will almost already be in Taurus. So Mars at the moment is a wild card, as I like to say, because it's all by himself. Yeah, it's conjuncting the North Node, of course, and then Chiron. But there's nothing else going on in the sky. That's affecting Mars. So Mars is doing its own thing and totally focused on the Aries area of your life and the collective world. So for an example on what I'm seeing in the collective world, because again, we have to remember the Aries part of our story for the last couple of months has been about identity. It's been about who are we in the world? What do we want to be in the world? There's so many things in Aries that, depending on what's going on in your life, that can represent, like taking charge of your life, speaking up, not getting stepped on anymore, removing yourself from group dynamics, Libra energy, towards, trying to be more like your own boss, pave your own way. So there's a lot going on, I think, between, trying to have harmony in the Libra energy and trying to, play nice in groups, or, maybe there's just been like this acceptance of things in life. And now the North Node and the whole Aries story for all of us has been, how do we identify with a new version of self? And Mercury's story there was teaching us a lot, the retrograde especially. I feel a lot of us were reassessing our place in life, or our place in that area of our life, or whatever the case may be, reassessing decisions. And I think trying to regain a sense of self-control has been a part of that. And Mars being there is just, it's really making it either more challenging for you, or you're starting to see the light and really being able to go, okay, like I kind of know what I need to focus on. I need to, block out the haters, block out the noise, and just, get to work, move forward, figuring out who I am. I'm going to fight for who I am. Like there's that kind of energy going on right now. Now, I'm not going to ever focus on politics here unless there's something in mundane astrology, which is the astrology of like worldly events. I'm not really necessarily planning on bringing that to the channel here, unless something so massive occurs. But a lot of the stuff going on with the Middle East and, the protesting, there's a lot of like fighting for identity, like fighting for that, like whether we like it or not, like race, ethnicity, and identity has been a huge part of just the collective story. And it just is what it is right now. That's part of the reality of our life in the collective world and what's in the news 24/7. And Mars in Aries is about that. It's identity, it's self, it's fighting for that. It's trying to be heard, and all spectrums of the political aisles are all about that. If you notice, every aspect of politics and religion and, all that stuff, it's all about the self. It's all about identity. It's all about, who am I in the world? It's all about respect me in the world. I'm going to fight for who I am in the world, and that's just the way human beings are. But this is a point where the magnifying glass is so charged, it's so charged up, with everything that's been going on in the mundane astrology world. And then the Jupiter-Uranus stories in conjunction, and even that Cazimi, the Uranus Cazimi, that kind of is supercharging things in the world of collective affairs as well, even though I associated that very much with the auroras that just occurred. But again, this uprise, Uranus is about rebellion. Uranus is about sudden shocks. It's about sudden revelations, sudden things that occur, things that come out of left field. And Jupiter is a planet of expansion and a planet of philosophy and a planet of just like higher knowledge and luck and optimism, of course, all the beautiful significations of Jupiter, but it's expanding what Uranus has been doing, so don't get it twisted. There's that. Everything is affecting each other. So when it comes to the protest and it comes to the war stuff in the news and all of the stuff that's been so hot and activated, we're dealing with all of the stuff that's been going on with Jupiter, Uranus, and what's been going on in Aries and Mars. And now that Mars is alone with the North Node, we're at a very, very hot point, as I feel we go into next week, where we're going to see, I just think we're going to see, I don't want to say we're going to see the peak of a lot of this, but we're certainly going to feel a peak in some way, And again, I can think of a lot of examples with like, the war in the Middle East. I don't even know if I want to call it a war, but it's a horrible situation, no matter how you look at it. And I'm not going to talk about, anything more than what I just said. But the astrology is the astrology. And all I'm saying is I feel a lot of people are going to put the iron clamp down on a lot of things that have been going on over there. I think, possibly America is going to, put its foot down and kind of make some bold statements now. Because now, my country has been sort of just a little bit, They've been like playing both sides a little bit, because they always do that. We always play both sides a little bit, especially during a political season. So right now, Mars being at that North Node trigger point is, there's going to be a lot of sharpness. And I feel from both sides, I feel like people who are actually fighting in the war, like the leaders, they're not going to back down. They're being very stubborn. They want to do what they want to do. And that goes for any other warlord groups too. Nobody wants to back down. Everybody's fighting for their identity, fighting for their land, fighting for their culture and their race and their histories. And Mars is just a wild card in Aries, pumping that out there. And the Chiron story with all this is everyone's trying to heal their past, their histories, their traumas, and now they're fighting for them. So, and Chiron wants to teach the world, hey, unless you heal this, unless we figure out a more peaceful way, unless we, forget and make amends with the past, if we, find a true way to come forward and even ditch religion, because the ideologies is what's screwing everybody up. This is what causes all wars and conflicts since the dawn of, time, in a way, since religion became a thing. But even before religion, tribes were killing each other. This is part of the belief story of just whatever their philosophies were evolved into. And what we're seeing mostly in the world, in many ways, is religious fundamentalism at its worst, and political past histories that are ruthless and that are just inhumane to a degree, because that's part of the human story in both religious and political realms of thought. And we have to understand that Uranus as well is about, humanitarian stuff, like collective stuff, because it's still, Uranus is connected to Aries and Aquarius, and Aquarius is very much about collective ideals and ideologies, and of course being rebellious and kind of being cold and just being very focused and not stubborn, but this ties right into what's going on. And then Jupiter, a planet of religion, a planet of philosophy, a planet of ideas and ideologies and wisdom that expands anything it touches. So I didn't want to bring the wars into this, or the conflicts, whatever you want to call them, but it's it's a great example of the Mars and Taurus activations when we're looking at it from a more aggressive point of view, because Mars can be very aggressive, very sharp, and everybody's taking action on all fronts, and a lot of people are getting hurt. And in our own personal life, you have to see what's going on in the Aries part of your birth chart, because we all have a story playing out in that part of your life, So this North Node and Mars is very important, because I feel this is a defining moment in aggression, in assertiveness, in self-identity, in fighting for identity, in speaking up for identity, and just everything that has to do with what makes me me. And that can be taken on a collective and individual level, Like, what do I need to do to be in the world in the most authentic way? And Aries wants us to be fearless as we move forward, wants to just take action, sometimes in a reckless way. So we have to be careful of any reckless, kind of too over aggressive and over, I don't want to say confident, but we don't want to take actions without thinking either. So Mars with this North Node is or just Mars in generally, now that it's been in Aries, we have to be really careful on how we're taking action. We don't want to go too far, too above and beyond, or take too many, too many steps forward that could be, sometimes you just don't want to overdo it. That's the thing. Like if you can only run 5 miles, but for some reason you want to keep going, but that your knees are going to give out, like you should probably listen to the inner voice saying, hey, I should just stop at 5 miles. I feel my knees, like they're hurting a lot. And you don't want to keep going, because the Mars activation is going to want you to keep going, and sometimes you should keep going, because it's a challenge for you, which sometimes we need to have our knees give out, to learn what our limits are. yeah, guys, but the North Node transits, those are important for more people to discuss, especially when they're getting hit by such heavy energetic transits like a Mars conjunct. And of course, when they're happening on the same day as a Jupiter Cazimi. Because this is a really, because it's really focused on something specific that can potentially affect your entire future for the next 12 or so years. So that's why it's so important. And I think I'm going to close on that. So I think if we all dig deep enough, we can see where the North Node story is really, or what it's trying to teach us, what its purpose is in that part of your birth chart. And I think that's all important. I think that's extremely important for us all to note. It really is, and for us to take into consideration. Because with Mars there, if we use it for our benefit, and we know exactly what we need to do as far as taking action, or, if there's anything going on with your place in the world as far as your identity in that particular part of your life, this moment with the North Node, I think, is going to be very highlighted. So I think even if you don't know what your North Node transit story is, this Mars activation at the end of the week, I think it's happening on the 18th. You might finally get revealed what it actually is. And you might finally get that moment where you're like, oh, I need to act on this. Or, oh, that's what I need to do to, like me, that's what I need to do for this thing in my life. And I need to stand my ground and fight for this and work hard for this. Or, like if you need to leave a situation, like if you need to leave something, Aries can finally give you the courage, this moment, to cut that off, Because that North Node might be teaching you like, hey, listen, you need to get away from something that's been transiting in the South Node, Libra aspect of your life. And that North Node point is an activation, for coming into your own sense of self and have that courage to leave whatever's been going on in your area, your Libra, energy, the Libra stuff in your birth chart. So I don't know about you guys, but this astrology has really been affecting me for sure. Like everything is so literal, and that's why I continue to do astrology, because honestly, I'm a man that for many years, I'm a skeptic in a lot of ways, guys. Like I want to directly experience things in my life before I totally commit to a belief or, think that something is true or not. And luckily my intuitive nature has always guided me to see the truths of certain things, especially like this. So, I mean, for me, this is playing out very literally. And so I know it must be playing out literally somewhere in your life as well. All right, guys. Well, that's all I have for you today. Please like, comment, and subscribe. If you are new, leave me a comment. If you're someone who's been with me a while, please let me know what you think about this conversation. And yeah, guys, I'll see you all in the next video. Sending you so much love.